DreAllDay.com.
What's going on, everybody? Dre Baldwin, DreAllDay.com. We are here at Q&A number 78. This is every week here on this channel. I record this Q&A every Friday, sometime on Friday. Today is Friday, July the 3rd. This is coming out Saturday, July the 4th. Happy 4th of July to everybody, out there who's going to be celebrating 4th of July. I'm going to go through all the comments from the previous week's Q&A. I do this every week. I go through all the previous week's Q&A comments down there in the comment section. And I read that comment, and then I respond to it. I record it, and then I put that out as the next Q&A video. So if you have a question that I haven't already addressed, you leave it in the comments to this video, and I'll respond to it for the next Q&A. But make sure you ask me a good, thoughtful question. Don't ask me something that I already have addressed, because then I'm not going to address it. So let's get right into it without wasting any time. First question is coming from Elite Tomahawk. He says, Dre, do you think it's more important to score points or to get assists in a game? Well, I think both are important, because if you score, the object of offense is to score points, and if you got an assist, that means somebody scored too. So either way, it leads to 2 points or 3 points or 1 point or whatever. The object of the game is to score points. Next, Mark Claro says, doesn't it matter how you look in the dunk contest? And he's referring to, I think, something else I said in the previous video, but I don't know what that was, so you had to give me some context so I could address that, so I don't know what he means. Next is Emmanuel. He says, what basketball do you think is the best to use? Because every time I get a ball, it either has a bad grip or is a bad basketball. What ball do you think is great and has a good grip and a good brand? Well, if you think every basketball you get has a bad grip or is a bad basketball, it might not be anything wrong with the basketball. It might be something wrong with you. Because if it's a brand new basketball, it should probably have grip. I don't know what you mean by bad basketball. They're all the exact same size. Basketball has a uniform size. So there's a regulation size, there's a women's size, and there's a kid intermediate size, I believe. So I don't even understand what you mean by that question. So a basketball is a basketball. You can play, it really don't matter. And if it's brand new, you really don't have anything to complain about. Next question. Rocky says, you should make more ball handling and shooting videos. You mean more than the couple, maybe 2,000 to 3,000 that I've already published, and literally 2,000 or 3,000 videos that are ball handling and shooting? You mean more than that? Because if you've mastered all of those, then you don't even need any more videos ever. Next, the tuba guy says, have you ever played an instrument, and if so, which one? No, I've never played any instruments, never got into music at all. Lovro, well, as far as playing it, Lovro says, I'm a small point guard with a great jumper. How can I get my shot off over a bigger defender? What moves do you recommend? Well, I've addressed questions like this all the time. If you have to ask what moves you need to do to score on an opponent who's stopping you, or how to stop an opponent who's scoring on you, then the problem is twofold. Number one, you need more game experience, and number two, actually, let's put those in the opposite order. Number one, you need to work on your game more and develop more skills. Then number two, you need to play in more games to develop the experience, to gain the experience, so that you learn how to use your moves instinctively. Because if you need to go into a game thinking to yourself, oh, I'm playing against this defender, so I need to do this move, then you haven't developed the instincts yet. That means you need to play more so you can develop them. And the other part of that is, the other half of that answer is, in order to use your instincts, you got to have some actual skills to call on instinctively. So your instincts are going to call on whatever skills you've been practicing. So if you ain't been practicing, the instincts don't have anything to call on. So you need to practice first so you have some skill, and then play more so that you learn to use those skills on call, on instinct, without even having to think about it. Because right now, overall, you're thinking about it, and if you're thinking, that means you need to play more and practice more. And as far as the actual moves and drills and stuff like that, I've covered that, as I said in the previous answer, over 2,000 videos that have to do with creating your own shot off the dribble. And if you want a program that's kind of detailed, specific, laid out, tells you exactly what to do step by step, because I know some of you prefer that method, I have all that covered on the training program's website. It's called hoophandbook.com. I'll put an annotation or a card or something up here, and maybe in the video description if I remember. Otherwise, just go to hoophandbook.com. Hoop like basketball, handbook like a book.com. Next, Dominic says, I remember you did a video. You said you trained with one of the NBA Rookies of the Year. Who was that player? I've been dying to know. Everybody I've heard from said it was Kyrie Irving, but I want to hear it from you. Well, I don't know who you could have heard from, because nobody who you could have heard from could have told you except me, and I haven't said so, and I'm still not saying, so I won't even say. Next, Mr. Fourth Kid says, do you do intermittent fasting? No, I don't. I don't even know what that is, so no, I don't do it. JMC says, how can I learn to dribble without looking down at the ball? I know how to do a crossover, spin move, etc., but I can't do it without looking down. Any tips that can help me? Yes, just start practicing without looking at the ball. So if you lose it, that's fine. You just keep practicing until you can do it without looking at the ball. So take the exact thing that you're saying you want to be able to do and just practice doing it. So you already have your solution. You just need to go do it. Sean Gaming says, how many points did you average in college? In college, I averaged like 8 or 9 points over all the years put together. Brian says, I've been playing basketball for a while now, and I do good when I play 4-on-4 because we play in the gym. They don't like to do anything else, but when I play 5-on-5, I feel like I can't do anything. Feels like I don't have any space. Last game, I didn't score, I didn't contribute, but when I played 4-on-4, I was good. What can I do to get better in 5-on-5? Playing more 5-on-5. That's the only thing you can do. Jesse Wisner says, do you think Dellavedova made a name for himself with all the hype he got around Game 2 and 3 of the NBA Finals, or was he a one-hit wonder and people will forget about him once Kyrie Irving comes back? It was not necessarily about anybody forgetting about him. I mean, this is not rap music. He's still going to be on the basketball team next year with the Cavs. He's going to get in the game and play. Same way he did last year. He got in games and played. He didn't get a lot of attention because he was the backup. Kyrie got hurt, so he played more because that was the guy. He was the only point guard they had available pretty much, so he played. And it was on the biggest stage of the whole season. So, of course, he got a lot of attention. I'm sure he's not going to get talked about as much next year because the guy he was backing up is not going to be injured no more, and Kyrie's going to be back, so he'll be back being a backup. So I wouldn't call him, I'm not sure you can call a basketball player a one-hit wonder in this case. He just stepped up when he was needed. He played well. He did. I mean, he played to the best of his ability. Overall, the Warriors just had a better team, so they beat him. Next, the Dagger Steel says, do you plan on reproducing? Because the world could use that type of offspring. I don't know. I got to think about that. And at this moment, I don't have any kids, so that's the only answer I can give. Andrew Smith says, in your opinion, is college worth going to in 2015? Well, it depends. That's a loaded question, Andrew. It depends on what it is that you will go to college for. What is it that you want to accomplish? Because if you know what you want to accomplish, then it can be easy to lay out a path, a plan of what exactly you need to do to get from point A to point B. Just if it's somebody who doesn't know what they want to do, or they, especially if you're talking about an athlete, somebody wants to play a sport, then college can be necessary. College can be good because you can use those 4 years of college to develop your skill, whatever sport it is you're playing, where you don't have as much responsibility as you would if you went into the quote-unquote real world. So it kind of depends on what it is you're looking to accomplish for me to answer, is it worth it? For some people it is worth it, for some people it's not. But there are a lot of factors that go into that I can't just give a black and white yes or no answer that will apply to everyone. Anthony Titus says, since it's summer, can you do a meetup or hoop session where we can come and work out and work on our game with you? I'm not sure that's going to happen this summer, Anthony. I appreciate you asking, but I'm not going to guarantee that that's going to happen, so don't hold your breath for that. Christus Jurgen says, will running in the sand increase my vertical? I don't know, Chris. Go to the sand and go run in it and then see if your vertical increase. That's the only way you're truly going to know. Just saying that in general, will running in the sand increase my vertical? A lot of things, there's a lot of factors that could factor into whether you jump higher or don't jump higher. If you want to do something that is specifically designed to make you jump higher, then get the jump manual, dreallday.com/jump. And if you want to do all these other random things and want to know if they're going to increase your vertical, go do them and you'll find out. So it's not really a black or white, yes it will or no it won't, because obviously running in the sand is not a vertical jumping exercise, it's a running exercise. But certain aspects of running can help your ability to jump higher. So that's why I can't really say yes or no. It really depends on how much higher are you looking to jump and why haven't you tried it yet. I mean, you obviously know where some sand is, you know where running is, so go do it. Next question. Go Monkey. He says, I was wondering, I'm 18, I've been playing ball, unorganized ball for like 10 years, but I was cut by my team in 7th grade and I got cut every year up till 10th grade. So I stopped trying out. Now I'm a sophomore in college. It's summer. So I've heard of guys like Hot Sauce who got cut from teams and became a pro for N1. I watched one of your videos where you talked about you got kicked off your college team or something like that. Then you went overseas to play, and that gave me motivation. His question is there a chance that a 5'7" kid who's now out of high school can work his ass off and get on some pro team overseas eventually? And how would I go about doing it? Because I have no experiences, no references, no coaches, etc., etc. Well, I've already addressed this, Go-Go Monkey. If you actually go to my What Should I Do series videos, I actually got a playlist called What Should I Do, where I address these questions. I answer this question where someone asks me, what are the chances of me doing something? Not me, but the person asking the question. Because people always ask me this. Well, Dre, what are my chances of accomplishing this goal with this background? So go watch that video, because I explained it better than I can explain it here. Next. Now, as far as if you were to go after the overseas thing, Go-Go Monkey, I actually wrote a book on that. It's called The Overseas Basketball Blueprint. You can get that on Amazon, or just go to dreallday.com/blueprint. Next question. SDH says, who was the worst coach you ever had? I don't think I had any worst coaches as far as coaches that I played for an entire season. Some coaches were better than others, but I wouldn't say any of them was a worst coach, because I learned something from everybody. Next, Swaggy G says, the Michael Jordan Hoop Handbook based on the young Michael Jordan or the older Michael Jordan? So the first three-peat Jordan or the second one / the Wizards Michael Jordan? It's actually a combination of both. So whatever skills you know from Michael Jordan, they're in both. So if you go to the hoophandbook.com website, click on the Michael Jordan program, you can read the program description, and it describes exactly what's in that program. So you'll know exactly what you're getting before you get it. Brandon Grassman says, do you think players can improve drastically just by training on their own rather than getting trained by somebody else from a basketball program? Yes, of course. I never have hired a full-time basketball trainer, so I'm proof positive that, yes, you can get better without having to have a program. I never bought any basketball training programs or hiring a trainer or anything like that. I actually did a post on Instagram this week. My Instagram is @Dre Baldwin, where I actually talked about that specifically, because players asked me, like, I feel like I had a player tell me that he felt like he was kind of behind the 8 ball because all his friends or other players around him his age had trainers and he didn't. So I talked about that in detail. So go to that Instagram post and you'll see it. Take Flight 23 says, I got a problem with my jump shot. I recorded myself. I noticed that I released the ball before I jumped. How can I get more elevation on my jumper and release it at its peak? I tried shooting at the peak, but it felt awkward and uncomfortable. I also feel that I lose power and range when I release at the peak. All right, so let's deconstruct this question here, everyone. First, he says, I noticed that I released the ball before I jump, right? And then he says, how can I get more elevation and release my shot at its peak? He wants to know, how can he release his shot at its peak? And then he says, I did it. I shot at the peak. I tried it, but it felt awkward and uncomfortable. So those two questions are opposing each other. Which one is it that you want, Take Flight 23? Because you just said, you asked me how to do it, and then you just told me that you already did it. So obviously you don't need to know how to do it because you already done it. And then you said it felt awkward and uncomfortable. So do you want it or do you not want it? Yeah, it felt awkward and uncomfortable because you never did it before, because you tried it. Yeah, trying things gives you an out to say, I tried it and then I didn't get the result, so it just doesn't work. That's because you only tried it. So why don't you go do it instead of trying it, and then you'll probably get better results and won't feel awkward and uncomfortable after you do it for a while. You got to make somewhat of a mental commitment that you're going to work on it till you get it. Because you said you wanted it, but then you gave all the reasons, then you gave me reasons why you didn't want it. So pick one. And then he says he feels he loses power and range when he releases at the peak. So why do you want to shoot at the peak? You give me all these reasons why you don't want to do it, but you're asking me how to do it. And you already done it. So your questions are all contradicting each other. So you got to figure out what it is that you want. Come back to me next week once you figured it out. Next question. Caleb CDL says, my name is Christian. I tried out last year. I didn't make it. Now I'm working on my game all this year. But should I worry about the kids that made the team in 10th grade that might make it again, or in 11th grade, whatever year it is, doesn't matter. Well, Christian, you could probably answer that your own question. You're asking me, should you worry about the kids who already made the team? So this is one of those $1 million questions that I like to say. The $1 million question is this. When somebody asks me a question that they obviously know the answer to, but they just want to hear somebody tell them. So I say to you, if I offered you $1 million to answer your own question, what would your answer be? and you got to guess what you think I would tell you. And you get $1 million if you get it right. You get nothing if you get it wrong. So Christian, I want you to answer your own question. This is one of those $1 million questions. Next, Bob. So I was wondering, since you have that tournament coming up, he's talking about TBT going on in Philly, July 17th through 19th. If you're going to do any different training in order to prepare, for instance, building chemistry with your teammates, just wondering. Thanks for the feedback and love the channel. Well, thanks, Bob. Well, getting ready for the tournaments, getting ready is basketball. It's a basketball game. So players come to me and they say, I'm getting ready to go to this overseas camp, or I'm getting ready to try out for varsity basketball. I'm getting ready to try out for this college basketball team. What different training should I do, or what should I expect? Listen, it's basketball. Anywhere you go, if you're trying out for a team, that means you played basketball before. Usually people don't get their introduction to the sport by trying out for a team. Usually you play a lot, then you try out for a team because you want to take it to the next level or get better, or whatever is your goal. So it's basketball. So no, I don't have to do anything different to get ready to play basketball. I've been doing it for a long time. As far as with the teammates, we'll be ready. I'm not going to give away what we're doing to get ready, but let's just know we'll be ready. Next question, Shaquille says, my name is Shaquille. I just turned 20, just graduated high school, and I play big man because the coach wouldn't let me dribble the ball. But I know I can dribble. I'm 6'4". I want to make it to the NBA, but I don't have scholarships. What would you recommend I do to continue my path to make it to the league? Well, at 20 years old, you got a couple options. One is you could go professional and go try to play overseas, go play in the D-League, go to some exposure camp, get an agent, something like that. Or at 20 years old, you probably have some eligibility to go to a college or university and play there. So you had to pick which one you want to do. Either one that you choose. I have complete detailed guides written on my website, dreallday.com, under the guides and tips section. Will tell you exactly what you need to do either way. Next, Husnain says, what are some finishing drills that you do? Well, look at my channel, Husnain. I got over probably another 1,000 to 3,000 drills where the move ends and me finishing with a layup, a floater, dunk, runner, something like that. So I got a few thousand of those. So if you want to know what are some of them, I'll give you a couple thousand. Johnny Football says, do you think if the NBA added a 4-point line, would the mid-range game be a true lost art? I don't know. It depends on where the 4-point line is and how teams adjust to it, to what would happen. It really depends on how teams adjust to the setting, not whether just because it's there doesn't mean certain things are going to happen. You just got to see how people adjust. Austin Bellinger says, do you think the competition is better in Philly at the LA Fitness, or do you prefer it better in Miami? I asked this because it seemed cool that at LA Fitness you just walked in and start playing, and if you lose, it's super hard to get back on the court. It sounds cool to me. I guess he's referring to one of the videos where I was talking about playing at LA Fitness in Philly at this place called Andorra that I used to play at probably about 10 years ago. But do I think the competition is better? The competition is definitely better in Philly, where I'm from, than it is here in South Florida, where I live. Because in Philly, in the Northeast, I find that basketball is just more serious. Excuse me. I haven't lived everywhere in America, so I can't really speak for out west or the Midwest or anything like that. I can speak for Florida, where I live, and Philly. Those are two places I've lived the most and played the most ball in America. But Philly is definitely, players are more serious. The average guy is a better player in Philly than the average guy in Miami. Because in Miami, my theory is that there's just more things to do in Miami. You got the beach, you got the party scene, you got the girls, you got the tourist scene. Whereas in Philly, especially in the wintertime, it ain't really much to do. You go to work, you go to school. Only other thing you can do is go to the gym. There ain't no beach. You can't go hang outside because it's too cold. It's not no tourists. I mean, it is a place for tourists in Philly, but definitely not like it is in Miami. So you don't have as many choices in Philly. So a lot of people take ball a lot more seriously because it ain't really nothing else to do. Whereas in Miami, you don't have to play ball at all, and you'll still have plenty to do all day, all year. Next, Elias Money says, what's in the background? He asked me something about my last video. I don't know what he's talking about, but it don't even matter. Next, Jonathan Hang says, what if I don't get drafted in the NBA? Do I join the D-League or a European League? I heard the D-League is bad, but I could get called up to the NBA. The European League makes more money than the D-League, but being called up to the NBA will be kind of harder. Well, Jonathan, you know what you should do? Go make one of those leagues and then worry about that bridge when you get there. So cross that bridge when you get to it. It's one of my friends used to say to me. So you worrying about all these things and you ain't done nothing yet. So why don't you go get to one of those places, whether it be the NBA, the D-League, or a European league, and then you can worry about all the problems you're going to have once you get there. So go get there first. Next, Aragus. So I started showering after practice. I was wondering if showering under cold water is better than doing it under warm water. Well, you can actually read up on that, Aragus. I've read that when you shower with cold water and then hot water, you alternate the cold and hot. It kind of wakes up certain nerves in your body or helps your body recover quicker, kind of like a cold tub and a hot tub can do. So you can read up on that. There's plenty of information on the internet that you can find out very quickly. Since you're already on the internet, go look it up and you'll have your answer. Pink Stickle says, do you think you have a killer instinct? Well, all I know is my aim is always to get the job done. Most of the time I get the job done. So all I'll say is that. It ain't really my place to say whether I got one. We'll let other people talk about that. I'm not really concerned with that. As far as when I have a job to do, whether that be on the court, off the court, business, anything like that, my aim is always to get the job done. So that's all I'll say. As far as the killer instinct thing, I know I just recently made a video about that. It's really become more of a, a water cooler topic, where ESPN, shows like First Take, they start making up these topics and then they argue about it and then they get people talking about it, and it works for them because everybody starts talking about it. People start watching the show. They start clicking on the articles. So it's really become kind of like a, what's the word that I want to use? It's become a very cliched term. It still exists, but it's become a cliched term in sports these days because, like I said, they made it into kind of a water cooler topic. In the end, all that matters, you can only judge people on their results. So judge people on their actions, not what they say, not what anybody says about them, but just judge people on their body of work, their track record. Next question, Tyrone Smith says, do you believe if you sweep and sway, you can add more range to your game? Or I guess he means your shot. And does the hop get your jumper off quicker? Well, Tyrone, both of those questions, you can go and test those out next time you go to a basketball court, and you can find out for yourself if it works for you. A sweep and sway and a hop may not necessarily make everyone's shot quicker or better or add range, but maybe it will work for you. So you have to find out what works for you. The exact same techniques don't work for everybody because if they did, we would all play exactly the same way. So some players got to do what works for them, other players do what works for them. In the end, like I just said, all that matters is the end result. Next, Marco says, do you have any good body weight workouts? Because I don't have access to a gym or weights, but I want to work out. Yes, I do. Actually, if you go to hoophandbook.com, I got a program called The Ultimate Athlete. It's a 15-week program, all for training the body, specifically for basketball players. Requires no weights, no equipment. So if all you got is your bedroom or your basement or your front lawn or your driveway, you can use The Ultimate Athlete 100%. You don't need anything. Next, Carlos Ramirez says, should most of my weight be on the forefront of the foot on every dribble? I feel most of my weight on my heels when I'm doing a behind the back dribble. Carlos, I actually don't even think about that. I don't even care about that, and you shouldn't concern yourself with that. You're really thinking too hard. Just do the dribble. The purpose of a dribbling drill is to work on the dribble. Now, as you do it more and you play more, you start applying the drills to game situations, you'll start instinctively learning what works and what doesn't work. You're going to go through some failures. You're going to go through a learning curve. You're going to go through a trial period. You're going to have some times where you mess up, but that's part of learning. The reason why a lot of players don't really get to the level they want to is they're afraid of the failures. They're afraid of messing up. They're afraid of losing the ball. So they either A, never actually do the things that they know they're going to mess up on because they're afraid of it, or B, they get into this paralysis of analysis where they start asking all these questions, doing all this thinking, and then they never actually do anything because they use the questions as an excuse to do nothing. So you don't want to become one of those players, I'm sure, Carlos. Just go through it, keep working, keep playing, apply the things you're doing in drills in live situations, and you'll start learning instinctively what works and what doesn't work. You don't need 100% of the answers to every question before you start working. Because if you wait for that, you'll never begin, and then you'll never get to where you want to go. Next, Zangilo says, I wanted to know what helps crossovers and moves become more effective and actually fakes the defender out. So what helps crossovers and moves become more effective to actually fake the defender out? What helps them is you working on your game so that you actually develop the skills and then applying those skills in game situations. Then you learn what works and what doesn't work for you again. So one move might be great for one guy, doesn't mean it's going to be great for you. You got to find out what works for you. First of all, you got to get some skills so that you have something to work, and then you got to see if and when it works and how it works for you in a game situation. Remember that every game situation is different, so what worked on Monday might not work on Tuesday. What worked against Team A might not work against Team B, and vice versa. So you always have to be able to adjust based on the situation in front of you. So you need to have more than one skill because you're going to face more than one type of player and you're going to face more than one situation. Next, KCI says, how do you know if you're getting better with the drills you post on YouTube? Like, for example, when you do driving scoring moves and shooting scoring moves. Well, I base it on how I feel. I base it on how I feel with my skills, based on what results I get when I play in games, or if I play against a person, or if I play in a 5-on-5, or based on how I feel just going off my workouts. When I watch myself on video, or I just think about how I felt during the workout, even if I don't watch the video. I base it on that, how I feel about my performance. So I base it on better, because better is a relative term, KCI. So if I say I feel like I'm getting better, somebody else might watch it. I might show the same video to 10 other people, and they'd be like, I don't feel like you got better. But if I feel I got better than I did, because better is a relative term. So better is all based on how whoever you're talking to feels about it. So if you're asking me, that's how I base it off of. Jake the Boss says, are you going to bring back signed Dre Baldwin? Actually, I don't know if I need to bring that back, Jake. I'm already signed. I signed to myself, Team WOYG. So I don't have to campaign for nobody to sign me. I'm signed. It's a lifetime contract, and it's a really good deal. Next question. Master of Basketball 23 says, do you think at the level you're at right now you can make the NBA? Also, I want to ask, I'm 14, 150 pounds, I'm 6 feet tall. Actually, before I get to that, to answer his first question, I just told you I'm already signed Team WOYG. So unless the NBA could beat the deal that I already got, I ain't even worried about that. But anyway, his question is, I'm 14, 150 pounds, I'm 6 feet tall. I'm decently muscular. I want to become more muscular and stronger so I can overpower my opponents. Basically, I want to be bulky and powerful. Do I have any tips? Yes. Go to hoophandbook.com and get the Position of Power strength training program. 10-week program, all for strength training. You do need to have a gym and some weights and some equipment to do it. If you want to be bulkier and stronger, that's my tip. Gabriel says, where do you think your African roots are from? Have you ever traveled to Africa? And how many languages can you speak? What languages would you like to learn? I don't know. I haven't thought about where my roots are from. I would have no basis on that guess or hypothesis. I have never traveled to Africa. I would want to, though. And he said, how many languages can I speak? What languages would I like to learn? Only language I can speak fluently is English. I know some Spanish. What other languages would I like to learn right now? That's not really something that I'm concerned with, learning another language. I'd be open to it, but right now, none. That's not even on my plate right now. Anthony Turner says, is there any way to make your hands bigger? I can grab the rim and everything, but I lose the grip of the ball. How do I make it so I can hold the ball so I can palm it? Because it just gets loose and I let it go. Well, I don't think there's a way you can actually make your hands grow larger, but if you want to improve the way that your hand grips the basketball, which is what I think you really want to know, my guy Jacob actually made a video about this. So if you just search on my channel how to palm a basketball, or just put the word palm basketball on my channel search, you'll see the video that Jacob made where he talks about the way you can train your hands to get better at gripping the ball, which is what you actually want to know. I don't think you think that you can actually make your hands grow. Next, Q-Man says, who was the hardest player you ever had to guard? All right, let me think about that. The hardest player I ever had to guard would be, I'd probably say maybe Joe Johnson. We'll say Joe Johnson without thinking too hard about it. Next, Zevin Wish says, is running the best way to increase in-game endurance and stamina? Yes, I would think so, but there's a lot of different ways you can run. So you could run a suicide, you could run a couple miles on the track, you could run on a treadmill, run in the street, you can run sprints up and down from baseline to baseline. So those are all different ways of running. So the answer to your question is yes. Michael Patterson says, which ab workouts did you do or do you do? Ab workouts? I don't really do a lot of ab workouts, actually. I do stuff like planks and things for the core. I don't necessarily do things just specifically for abs. But for abs, if you think about it, in almost any strength exercise you do, or almost any movement you do with your body, you're using your abs. So that kind of works out the abs at the same time. So if you run, your abs have to play a role in that, because your core, that core section of your body, controls the movements of the legs and the upper body. If you play basketball, you need your core to actually jump. To dribble a basketball, you need your core. If you do a bench press, your core has to stabilize the midsection of your body while you're lifting that weight in the upper body, because you got, let's say, 100 pounds, 200 pounds, 300 pounds on the top half of your body to keep your body from leaning, tilting over and falling backwards. You need your core to keep you stabilized while you lift that weight. So almost every movement you can do as far as strength training or conditioning or playing basketball or cardio workouts, you're using your abs. So you don't necessarily have to do a specifically targeted ab exercise to have nice looking abs. And also the foods that you eat and the amount of body fat on your body fat percentage, all plays a role in how your abs look externally to other people or when you look at yourself in the mirror. So that's it for the questions this week, everyone. Thank you for coming through. Q&A number 78. And if you have a good question, leave it for me in the comments to this video. I'll address it in the next one, which will be Q&A 79. That's it. That's all. Work on your game. DreAllDay.com.
Thanks for checking out this video. Make sure you follow all my top content up here. Follow me on all your favorite social networks right over here. And make sure you are subscribed to catch all the new content I put on this channel every single day.